Two of the independents, Tony Windsor and Rob Oakeshott, come from seats in northern New South Wales where there's a growing trend away from the major parties. And both men name health and communications as key priorities for their electorates, where, in common with other areas of regional Australia, there are complaints about a decline in government services. There's been a lot of talk that both seats are by nature politically conservative, but that alone won't determine which major party these two independents will ultimately support. After several days in the seats of Lyne and New England, Matt Peacock filed this report.
Australia's government remains in limbo, but high on the northern tablelands of New South Wales there's a hive of activity, with Labor's national broadband network already rolling out in Armidale.
So what we've got happening here, of course, students doing their clinical work with their patients. And if you can imagine somewhere across the other side of the country, I have a physician who's not only supervising them, but potentially doing a procedure on that very patient. So if you just show...
At the nearby University of New England, Vice-Chancellor James Barber believes the new technology will revolutionise local industries.
We can take data from satellite, push it down this pipe and use it to construct three-dimensional images of farms, and we can send all that information across the world and have problems diagnosed almost instantly.
I believe that if we can get the broadband thing right, we actually, in one foul swoop, negate distance as being a disadvantage of living in the country. Location then becomes irrelevant.
Back from a tense week in Canberra, Tony Windsor has a clear view on what matters to his constituents.
Health. Health is always the major issue. Health, broadband, and how it relates to future health, educational and business and entertainment needs. Some of the water issues, renewable energy issues, and obviously infrastructure issues. So the issues aren't new, but they may have a new set of eyes looking at them.
At the end of the day, whilst it's technology that may help the medical services, it's certainly not going to fix somebody who's sick.
Broadband's no magic bullet, according to Tamworth's Mayor, James Treloar. He's been a National Party candidate for the state seat here, but he doesn't share his federal colleagues' hostility for the independent.
I think you will find that Tony will act in the best interests of not just New England, but he will certainly act in the best interests of Australia.
Independents are nothing new in this part of the world, despite its National Party tradition. Two independent state MPs serve alongside their federal counterparts, Tony Windsor and his neighbour Rob Oakeshott, next door in Lyne.
Well, welcome. This is our council chamber.
At 25, Adam Marshall is one of the youngest mayors in the country.
Party politics is passé. It's about delivering outcomes for your community, and I think an adversarial arrangement only stifles that.
Like his colleagues on Gunnedah Council, he too is an independent.
I think what's happening now is extremely exciting. It's a chance, I think, to change the way we do politics in Australia, focus more on people, delivering outcomes, and focus more on the issues confronting rural and regional Australia.
We've got something pretty unique going on in Port Macquarie and the Hastings region in particular, where we don't have one single political party in play, either at a local council level, a state level or a federal level. And guess what? The sky didn't fall in. Business as usual. In fact, we argue a pretty strong case that we're doing better than before.
On the coast at Port Macquarie, Rob Oakeshott's electorate has one of the fastest growing sea change populations of retirees in the country.
Ours is a services crisis. Government, state and federal have been reluctant to provide matching funds for the growth, and health, education, roads, they're all being squeezed due to that population growth that we are experiencing without the services to match.
Good morning, Judy Bartholomew, Alzheimer's Australia, New South Wales. Demographic time bomb's probably a good phrase for it.
Already the electorate's got the highest incidence of dementia in the state, and that's set to quadruple over the next 4 decades, warns Alzheimer's Australia's Judy Bartholomew.
In this area in particular, we have people who have retired. They often don't have their family with them, so we've just got perhaps a husband and wife here. So when one of those, or sometimes both, end up with dementia of some sort, it places a huge strain on the family who may be interstate. It also means that we need more support for those people here.
It's a similar story to the West in Gunnedah, a recent addition to the New England electorate where health services are in huge demand.
For me, personally, my next routine, non-urgent appointment is January 2011. That, to me, is wrong. We're creating a health campus which is going to have this primary health care
The planned community health centre has won funding from Labor's Super Clinic program and tenders have been called. Not a moment too soon for Dr Graham Dean. Although the coalition's opposed the super clinics, he hopes it will find a similar alternative.
If the super clinic model goes, I think that will be a disappointment to a lot of people. But if there's infrastructure funds that can come to actually develop and establish better general practices that will mimic in many ways the actual action of a super clinic, I think that is still just a good way to go.
Gunnedah is a growing town driven by a boom in coal mining. But it's come at a price, triggering an angry standoff between miners and pastoralists on the lush Liverpool plains.
Agriculture is under siege. Agriculture has no future with what is happening currently, with the lack of understanding of land use issues.
Everyone's no doubt heard on the news today about...
Tim Duddy, another Gunnedah councillor, has led the protest against mining, and he hopes Tony Windsor might broker a solution.
A strategic plan for development of land use for agriculture and mining so that areas like ours could be set aside to be useful for agriculture forever, and that mining is put in areas that don't have such a huge environmental footprint.
That's an issue where I think we're going to have to really just step back a bit and do what I call bioregional assessments of some of these sensitive areas. And I think this Parliament, the Hung Parliament, I was actually talking to Bob Brown about it the other day, that this Parliament may well make that step forward.
As negotiations continue in the corridors of power, what matters to people living in the electorate? And is there a risk that if Rob Oakeshott favours the ALP, that he may be out of step with the traditionally conservative electorate?
Recent opinion polls indicate voters might object if the independents return Labor to government. But that's a suggestion the party's unsuccessful candidate in line, Frederick Lips, scoffs at.
Well, let's face it, as an independent, he's had to work with Labor state and federal governments. That's his job.
In the end, they voted for an independent. They voted for an independent member twice. I've had a 13-year relationship both in state and federal politics with the community, and I hope it's a trusted relationship based on making decisions without fear or favour.
We're getting National Party voters who ring up and say, I voted for you, but I won't again if you support the other side. And Labor voters have said, we always voted Labor, but we voted for you because you seem like a decent independent, and if you go to that side, we'll remove our support. And then there's much more saying, look, we'll trust your judgment.
Both independents name better communications as a key issue, a view that's shared by the man who for 40 years was Telstra's New England technical specialist.
New England's a great spot to do it because we've got education, we've got health, we've got the agriculture, war, all those combinations where we can team people up. And next thing you know, here we are, physical work. Look, I almost got tears in my eyes to see this.
With Labor's broadband rollout already underway in Armidale, Alan Davies is hoping the coalition has a change of heart.
It's starting, physically starting. It can start to do good for Australians by next year, and that's what we need.
Despite the mounting pressure, neither Rob Oakeshott nor Tony Windsor show any signs of wavering.
This is a bidding war between both sides. I am being asked to make an unnatural decision to align myself with one and have confidence in one or the other. I will happily have them do what they can in the best interests of my electorate.
Well, I've been beaten and bashed before. I think I'm tough enough, but we'll find out.
At least he's still smiling, Matt Peacock, with that report. And tomorrow night we'll visit the electorate of Bob Catter, the third rural independent in far northwest Queensland.